Yeah, I like
Am I going to be in the way of your camera?
I'm
Try
not
not to.
sure yet.
Actually,
I'm sure you'll be fine. I'm really trying to get online here. Yes.
We'll get started here in a couple minutes. We'll give people another minute or two since the roads were bad.
it's really, really dry though. It's just cold enough. Fluffed out the power.
Okay. It's just my drive.
You're
7.
They said 6 inches. Yeah, probably. It's so light it doesn't feel it.
Yeah, it's just I have a just
Once the road, I had first try to start the light. And I was 5 seconds after they tried to start it. I was here, they couldn't see, they went out, stopped, went about 6 feet and stopped. This guy goes it's snowing, and then tried to stop, I guess.
yeah.
So I worked with yeah.
Go ahead and grab a seat and we'll get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. If you'll grab a chair. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Colorado Department of Ag. Thanks for venturing out on a snowy day. I think we have the magic power. Whenever we hold a hemp meeting, it snows. Last year we had our patent meeting and got one of the bigger snowstorms of the year, so we had to reschedule that. But fortunately, the snow wasn't that deep today, and we thank you for making the time to come in and join us here for our 2016 Hemp in Review is what we call this. Hemp Year in Review. We did this last year, and in 2014, we think it provides a great opportunity for us to provide information as to how we saw the year go. It provides you guys the opportunity to interact with us and ask questions and get some good information. We are live streaming the meeting today so that people who can't make it here for whatever reason or in other areas of state can benefit as well. And then we will put this up on our website, on the Colorado Department of Ag Hemp webpage, and you can go back and review that, or others can see it. If they weren't able to be here, tell them it's there. But you know, I think we had a very good year this year in the hemp industry. We're just 3 years into this, and have we solved everything? Not by a long shot. Have we seen it all? Not by a long shot, but I think the industry's growing, and it's exciting to see what's happening out there. And as we go through today, I think you'll see some of that and where we've come a long ways in 3 short years of the program. We'll be in here if we need to till 4 o'clock. The plan is to kind of use the first couple hours to go through a bunch of information and leave at least an hour at the end for question and answers. If we have more time than that, that's fine. So take a look at the agenda. We're going to go through a number of topics, so if you see yours on there, maybe hold your question until we get to that point, but we'll kind of go through the whole year, kind of what we see as the national picture in brief, go through the program update, go through what happened this year with testing in the fields. We'll give you the seed certification update. Hopefully a lot of you, if not all of you, saw the press release we put out last week on the program. We'll go through some proposed rule changes, some proposed legislation, and then of course the question and answers. So we look forward to a good afternoon. Thanks again for coming. I do want to recognize our advisory committee. When the legislature put this in place in 2013, they gave us an advisory committee to work with, which is something fairly common at the Department of Ag. It gives us a group to call on specifically. When we have questions, we met last week. This is much the same that you saw last week, if any of you were here. But just wanted to recognize those people. Robert Hoban, who represents the industrial hemp regulatory programs. Alfonso Abeda, who's a hemp farmer from a cooperative. Jim Ott, who is a commercial hemp farmer. Ben Holmes, who's into seed development and genetics. Ed Lehrberger, who is the hemp manufacturing representative. Tracy Shobran, who is hemp small business. She runs the hemp store down in Manitou Springs. Jennifer Anderson represents the Attorney General's office for legal issues. Chad Fitzer is the citizen advocate, so not a part of the hemp industry, but represents the citizens out there. Troy Bowder represents Research Institutes of Higher Ed. He's with CSU. Grant Orvis represents the certified seed industry, and Graham Carlson represents the cannabinoid industry. We had all 9 of those positions until a couple years ago, and we went to the legislature and asked for the certified seed piece and the cannabinoid representative, and they gave us those. So that's kind of the immediate group we reach out to when we have questions. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Dwayne Finning, our Assistant Director with the Department of Ag. He's going to talk a little bit about the national perspective.
Thanks, Mitch, and again, thank everybody for being here. A little bit about when we talk about national perspective. Colorado, since we've started in industrial hemp, we've always had that under the microscope and also under the spotlight in both, in many ways. And with that has come some challenges, but I would tell you that part of the reason we're in the spotlight now is because of the industry we're working with. You guys really are leaders in the country and should be commended for that. We really have gotten a lot of national attention, and I'll speak in just a minute about some of that. But it's really because of your willingness to work with us, talk to us, and keep the doors open that we are where we are today. So with that, a couple of things. One is this fall we had a national regulatory conference here. It was right here in the state. We had a national regulatory conference here in the state. What is it?
Yeah, it is.
There we are. So we had a national regulatory conference here in the state. 30 states came. It was co-hosted. I would tell you it was here in the state, but co-sponsored by Vermont, by Minnesota, by Kentucky, and Colorado. We had about 30 states. We had a representative from a tribe that came to take some information from here to some of the other tribes. But then we also had some of our federal agencies, including the DEA, USDA, a number of agencies came. And so anyway, with that, what that meant is we had some good open discussion between different states. And a lot of states are now that haven't got a program. Listen to the states that were there, some of the challenges we faced. We hopefully got them to understand that the industry we're dealing with is not to be afraid of. It's really an industry to open the doors, listen, and work together to solve the issues. So, and I think in many ways, even the DEA spent much greater time with us listening and understanding than they thought they would, or we probably thought they would either. They kind of thought they'd be there for about an hour and a half, and they were there for about 5.5 or 6 hours. So, another thing I'd like to tell you is just that there's new varieties being developed here in the state all the time, and that is drawing national attention. Some of the rules, some of the things we have in place, other states haven't had to face because they're just importing seed. And so some of the challenges that we face have been different than them, but now they recognize that, boy, some of the things we're doing really do set us apart and are ahead of the other industry. And then lastly, before I turn this over to Maureen for the next part, the one thing, you know, this last election, you know, for probably since my phone has rung off the hook with people that are nervous, I would tell you that because, again, of the industry, because of where you have brought this industry in Colorado, about 50% of all the acres in Colorado, or 50% of all the hemp acres in the U.S. are grown right here in Colorado. That's elevated us on a national scale. And so we get a lot of congressmen from D.C., senators from D.C. that call and ask questions. And that really serves you well, because we have a voice that we wouldn't have without you. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Maureen.
Thank you, Mitch and Dwayne. For those of you who haven't had an opportunity to meet, I'm Maureen West. I'm the Hemp Program Manager, and I also want to welcome you. Thank you for coming out today, and everybody who's live streaming. I want to include you in that welcome as well. So I think we've got some really, first of all, I want to start off with the staff that we have here at the Department of Agriculture that is really wanting to work with you to help make this program the best it can be, and to help you grow this industry. And right at the top there are Mitch and Dwayne, and I always love the opportunity to point out how much Mitch and Dwayne do beyond industrial hemp, that they are very involved at the Department of Agriculture, and they're involved in corn and wheat and potatoes and pesticide application, and they have so many responsibilities, and yet you all know how available they have been for industrial hemp, so I really want to thank them for that. And then, as I just introduced myself, I'm the program manager. We have Terry Moran, who joined the team about a year ago, and he's our certified seed specialist, and you'll be hearing from him in a couple of minutes. And then Jessica is our program assistant. Jessica is right over here, and she is really program assistant extraordinaire. So we really are here to really support you all and work with you. So here's just a couple of, we want to just share a couple of pictures of us having the opportunity to be out in the fields a little bit. So that was just Mitch and Dwayne, and this is Jessica and myself, and then Terry Moran. Terry gets to spend quite, he's been able to spend a lot of time out there. So that's the staff. Okay, so the credibility of the program is really our top priority, and I really want to just sort of, with everything that Dwayne just said about the attention that this program is getting on a national basis, it really is a top priority that we have a credible industrial hemp program in Colorado. And so I just want to flip back here for a second. Here we go, we're good. Okay, so I want to just kind of start off with sort of the day-to-day. Some of the day-to-day operations is what I'm going to be talking about, the program. And one of the ways that we can really help keep this program credible, and I say keep because it is through the application process. That's where it starts with the registrants. And so the complete and accurate applications and reports really keep the integrity of the program, and it helps keep you in compliance. So that's been something that we've worked a lot at this year, and I'll be sharing a little bit more about that. And then, again, the compliance affords the registrants the protections of the program. So these are really key to day-to-day operations. So again, and it's all about the integrity of the program. So how do we do that? Communicate, communicate, communicate. We really, really want you to communicate with us because it really is the way that we can get pulse and that we can find out any issues that you're having. So we want to welcome you to do that. And kind of going back to that slide, I want to welcome you to contact me because, again, Dwayne and Mitch have a lot of other responsibilities. So please feel free to communicate with me, and if you have some issues or questions, to go ahead and direct those to me or Jessica. We'll be talking a little bit about an email that we have now that will help us streamline some of this. So communication helps the program, and it helps to verify the compliance, should that be necessary. So if something's going on, if something is happening in your grow, again, let us know, and then we can be apprised of that, should we need to do any verification to show that you're in compliance. So this is the new email, industrialhemp@state.co.us. And this is one of our efforts to go ahead and expedite communications. And so what we'd like to do is have you direct general questions that you may have to this particular email. And then the staff will be looking at it, and then we'll be sort of figuring out who can most appropriately answer that question if it's a question. And certainly this is what we'll want to in terms of receiving applications and reports. So this is going to be very important for us. And then again, we'll be looking at it, and if it's appropriate for Dwayne to respond, he will. If it's appropriate for me, but this is a way to try to streamline communications and avoid all of us getting sort of the same email, then trying to. That's not a very efficient way to process. So we think that this will really help. Because again, I can't say it enough. The goal is for the program to win, for you to win, and so you'll see some other efforts that we're taking to accomplish that end. Okay, so that was about communication. Let's talk a little bit about how the program has grown over this last year. Historically, the number of registrations has increased at a steady pace of about 28% each year. And the most significant increase we saw this last year was in the growth in the number of registrants. And let me just clarify that for you. A registration is for a registered land area, and ABC may have, I'm just throwing that out there, but they may have 5 registered land areas, so that would be 1 registrant. So what we've really seen is a significant increase in registrants, and these are people that are new to hemp, oftentimes, and new to agriculture. So this is a really great reflection of what's going on in terms of the industry. And so there was a 27% increase from year 1 in terms of registrants and then to 2000, from 2014 to 2015. But this last year we saw a 90% increase. So there were a lot of new registrants coming into the program. There's a lot of information on the slide, and I'm just going to go ahead and basically what it shows is historically the increase in registered acres, registered square feet, registrations and registrants from 2014 to 2015, 2015 to 2016. But these right over here, the increase over 2014 are some numbers that I think you'll really want to pay some attention to, because you can see how significant those numbers are, and that really demonstrates the growth that we're talking about here. So, with all of that in mind, with all that's going on and how much this program is growing, it's really necessary to make sure that we're looking at efficiencies and making sure that we're processing these increase of applications, because that's not just an increase in applications, but it translates to an increase in planting reports and harvest reports. So we need to be highly efficient to keep this program cost effective for you all, and again, I'm going to keep using that word, credible. So it's very important that that when we do get an application, that we are provided a complete and accurate information with the application. That is very important for efficiency, because everything we ask for in an application, we really don't ask for more than we need, and we don't ask for less. We've really looked at it and really tried to just pare it down to the information that we really need. So if we're asking for it, it's because we really need it. And so if it's complete the first time, then that just improves efficiency. And of course, accurate information as well. And you as registrants are in the best position to know your registered land area, your township range and section, whatever information we're asking for, you're in the best position to know that information. So that's really important, so that we can just keep everything moving along in the program. We did early on, because of this influx, we needed to quickly look at some efficiencies that we could put into place right away, and some of those include we created a step-by-step application. We really just tried to break the information down so that it would be just a little bit easier to complete. And then we created an application checklist, and the idea behind that is that you can take the application checklist, put it next to the application, and then it's a way to just check off to make sure that everything's been completely filled out. And it also answers some of the common questions that we see. So if you're looking at the application, you can go ahead and go, oh, that's what they're looking for, or that's where I can find it. So that was an efficiency that we put in place. We also put a map tutorial on our website just to help our registrants create those verifiable maps that are so important of your registered land area. So again, I'm going to say this a couple of times, but when it comes to sending in your applications, there will be one email that they will go to, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so this is another graph of the applications. Can everybody hear me okay? All right. It's a chart, and I won't go through all of it. It's 2014, 2015, 2016, and you can see that in April, May, and June are it's a very busy time for applications. And so we certainly would encourage you that you can, when you apply at that time, then that means that your application is being processed at the same time as all of these other applications are being processed. So if it works, if it, you know, it would be efficient to go ahead and feel free to apply a little sooner, and then you won't be in that very dense time when we're processing so many applications. Okay, so what are some of the things, I talked a little bit about some of the efficiencies that we tried to quickly implement to be able to, you know, complete all the applications in 2016. Looking forward, some of the things that we realized that slowed down the process that we want to improve for you all is to not require the original signature on maps. What we were doing is we were getting the application and we were verifying your map, but then we were waiting for the map with the original signature to come in, and that was slowing the process down. So now we'll go ahead and accept those so that we can go ahead and do the final processing of your application and issue that registration sooner. And the same thing with the actual application. We were waiting until we got your original application before we would issue the registration, and now we want to try to get those out quicker and not wait for those, because those would usually, they'd have to come in the mail, so we're not going to wait for that process. And we will just continue to be taking a really close look at this, but again, there's that website. That's the one that will, if all of these applications go into this website, that will really, really help the process. And why is this important? Well, it's important now. It's important for the efficiency of the program, but it's going to be very important also because ag licensing is the future for industrial hemp applications. And if you're not familiar with ag licensing, it's an online application approach that the whole Colorado Department of Agriculture is moving towards. And there are programs that are already have this online application process in place. Industrial hemp doesn't have it yet, but it's going to be coming soon. So all of this will really, I think, help ease that transition for you when this does come about. Okay, so we've talked about applications. I'm going to move to reports. And again, in terms of reports, there's 3 reports. There's pre-planting reports, planting reports, and harvest reports. And a pre-planting report really affirms that a registrant intends to grow industrial hemp. And one of the things that we did to try to create an efficiency is we incorporated the pre-planting report into the application, so that this is not what you have done, of course, it's what you intend to do, what you think you're going to do. And we included that at the application stage so that you could, you know, very efficiently complete that, report, and it's done. So that's one of the things that we did to help you all. Then I'm going to move to planting and harvest reports. And one of the things we did there was that we took the planting report and the harvest report, and we have them mirror each other so that when it comes time really for you put down, put down all the information in your planting report, and when it comes time to fill out your harvest report, you can refer back to your planting report, and you should be able to lift a lot of that information, put it into your harvest report, and that should really hopefully ease that reporting for you. So that's one of the things we did. And then we also went to standardization of report forms. And it's really important that we did that because it really ensures the accuracy of the information we get. It very much increases our efficiency and helps preserve staff resources, because when we're getting harvest reports that could be creative, you might say, and that had attachments, or some of the information was in an email, it was not efficient for us to be able to capture that information. Okay. All right. It wasn't efficient for us to be able to have to, we're going back to what we were talking about with this, influx of registrants and, over 400 reports, planting reports, and then 400 harvest reports to process. It wasn't efficient for us and for the program to have to look at them and then figure out where the information was and kind of search for it, and then enter that into our database. And so, again, kind of like along the lines of the application, what we ask for is what we need. No more, no less. We need it filled out, we need it complete, we need it accurate, but And if you have any questions about that, of course, you're welcome to contact us. But that's really been something that we've tried to do to help with the efficiencies. Okay, so we're going to move over to voluntary testing. That is something that came about in 2016. It helped develop the option. The CDA was involved in helping develop this option so that industrial hemp registrants could have their crop voluntarily tested and have it monitored for THC, for pesticides, for mold. So the CDA cooperated in that effort. That's to be distinguished for regulatory testing. For regulatory purposes, our testing is done at the CDA's ISO certified lab. It's a state lab. It's high standards, high protocols. And it really helps to ensure that registrants who are selected for sampling inspection all are subjected to the same testing standards and consistent lab protocols. And so just wanted to distinguish those and clarify that. Okay, inspection and sampling. How is that determined? The selection of registrations chosen to be sampled it's risk and random. So we have various factors that we look at. We may look at the largest number of registered acres. We may look at the largest number of indoor square feet. We may look at compliance and in terms of whether reports are filed. And so there's various factors that we'll look at, and that's how we come up with this list of who's selected for sampling. I'm moving quickly too because we have a lot to go through today. As far as inspection and sampling goes, it's really important in order to, again, going back to that efficiencies and helping to contain costs for our registrants, that there's timely submission of harvest reports to the program. And because I'll go into why, but that's important, and also the timely communication between inspectors and registrants in regards to scheduling. So these two are key because our inspectors inspect a lot of crops. They don't inspect just industrial hemp. And so when they can get this information, and if there's communication, once an inspector reaches out and wants to schedule an inspection and there's a timely response, that can really help contain costs for the registrants for these samples, because the inspectors can take a specific geographic area and try to schedule inspections within that geographic area, and then travel expenses can be shared. So there's a reason why these things are important. Because it really can help the registrants who are chosen for sampling. As far as testing goes, once if the sample inspection's been taken place, we get the test results. Written notification is sent to all registrants who have been tested. So we will let you know, we will provide you written notification. If a test result is high, as a courtesy, we will call that registrant and let them know that their test came back high. And it's because we understand that, you're all, this is important to you. This matters to you. It matters to us. It matters to you. And so we want to be able to just, call you and let you know, rather than just getting this email that says, oh, your test is high. We want to be able to call you, be able to have a conversation, answer any questions at that time, so you're not, because the first thing you're going to do is have questions going through your head. So we want to be able to do that so that we can have that conversation with you and hopefully answer any questions that you might have. I'm not sure if there's any other state agency that does anything like that, so I think that's been a great, but it really is an effort to show that we want to be in communication with you. Okay, so I think that I'll hand it back to Dwayne.
So a little bit about what we tested this year, and some of the things that, rumors that have been out there, things that have been heard, things that have been said. So as of the 18th, this is the slide everybody grabs pictures of. I see cameras going up all over the place. This is the one everybody wants pictures of. So As of 11/18, and I don't think we've done anything after that, but sampling is an ongoing process. We'll take some more indoor samples, but obviously not many more outdoor samples. We looked at 6,006 acres of outdoor production and under 434,000 square feet of indoor production. So we can test 100%. We don't see a reason to test 100% because so far what we have found is this industry is